Hey guys, it's Crazy Carl coming back to tell you a little bit about RUSE cards on part 3 of RUSE for Dummies. Let's get started. We're first gonna get started with Camouflage Net, which you're gonna see my opponent AOD here do in a minute. Here's a little quick description of Camouflage Net, and it basically just hides all the buildings within a sector. Pretty useful when you don't want your opponent to know what you're doing. You'll see here the AOD's buildings are just going to disappear from the screen. So that's what Camouflage Net. No sense in talking more about it. Let's move on. The next thing we're gonna take a look at is radio silence. Radio silence is sort of like camouflage net, but for your units. So if you want to hide your units in a certain sector, like I'm about to hide these tanks, you see that they're blinking. If they're blinking, then that means that they are not visible at that moment. So if you're going through a sector and your tanks are blinking and then they stop blinking, that means you've been spotted. So it's a good way to make sure that you know that you're still under the radar, as so to speak. So it gives you a good idea of how to creep up on your enemies without being noticed. The other ruse I'm going to tell you about is decryption, which you're going to see me using here. I just did right on those units that AOD has going through the middle. And as you can see, it tells me which direction he's sending them. So I don't know which units those are yet, but I do know which way they're going, at least, so I can adjust accordingly. And you can tell that they're under decryption mode by that red downward arrow on top of their heads. So that's it for decryption. So the next thing I'm going to show you is, which coupled with decryption is pretty powerful, is spy. You can use spy to basically be able to tell what a unit is in a certain sector. And right here, you're going to see I'm going to use spy on top of the decryption, and it's going to tell me that they're riflemen. And both of those together will tell me what those units are and which direction they're going to be going. So that's it for that. Next thing I'm going to show you is the decoy ruses. Starting with the decoy buildings, decoy barracks, decoy RD and AA base, and the decoy armor base. The first thing to understand about decoy anything, whether it be attacks or bases, is that you need to have something built of the kind in order to build it again. So in this case, I'm going to build a decoy armor base because I already have one built. If I had an airfield, I would be able to build a decoy airfield and so on and so forth. But the same is true with, if you want to get an early start in the game with decoy attack, you would have to, at that point, have that kind of base in order to build what kind of units are going to participate in that attack. So let's say you want to do a decoy air attack, you're gonna need a decoy airfield. I'm sorry, either a decoy airfield or a real airfield in order to launch that attack from. So here you see that I built, I set the sector to the right as a place for a decoy armor base to be built. So here you're gonna be, you'll see that my decoy construction truck, everything pretty much takes place exactly as it would if you were actually building a base. So as far as your enemy can tell, that's a real construction truck, and you can use that to, pretty much, the ruse is as good as it gets. The enemy really won't be able to tell that it's a decoy until it either destroyed the construction truck or destroyed the armor base itself, at which point the decoy word will pop up and the enemy will be able to tell that that's a decoy. So very useful. Here is, you see that my armor base is going to be set on the far right corner of the map. In this case, not really useful, but anyway, that's one aspect of decoy decoy bases, is that you can't really tell where they're going to build it. You can just designate the sector. So here, moving on, coupled with the decoy bases are the fake air assaults, like I said, the fake tank assaults, and then just a fake offensive. I did a decoy armor base, so I'm going to do a decoy tank assault on that adjacent sector. And coupled together, they work pretty well because, as you can see, my fake tank assault is being launched from my fake armor base. If I didn't have a fake armor base, I could still send my assault, but it would go from my real armor base. So that gives you an idea for decoy buildings and decoy assaults. Moving on, we're going to talk about reverted intel. What this ruse does is it takes your units that are light and switches them to heavy, and your units that are heavy and switches them to light. So these units that AOD has coming at me, unidentified light units, are actually heavy units. And so I'm gonna actually have to turn my units around and move them away because I won't be able to win. So you use that ruse to your advantage to set up traps in the battlefield against your opponent. Reverted intel. The next ruses we're gonna talk about are blitz, fanaticism, and terror. Blitz pretty much speeds up your units on a certain sector. You can tell a unit has a blitz on it if it has a little lightning symbol on top of its head, which makes them go significantly faster, like I'm about to do here in this main sector. What you are also going to see is fanaticism and terror, and these are the battle ruses for this game that you can use to change the tide of battle when you're in the middle of it. What you're going to see here is that my tanks are going to attack AOD's units. And as they start getting hurt, you see an exclamation point over a couple of the units. Look at my units. You're gonna see a couple of my units actually run away from battle when the exclamation point comes up. That's important because those units won't be firing as they do that, and I'll begin really getting my butt kicked in the battlefield. If you put fanaticism, like AOD is about to do to his tanks, as he notices that he has an exclamation point over one of his tanks, they don't run away from the battlefield. Terror does the exact opposite. It makes units run away faster. So you'll see that I put terror on AOD's tanks. In this case, the terror and the fanaticism pretty much canceled each other out. So that's it for ruses, guys. I hope you enjoyed my videos. The game is on hiatus until it comes out, but when it comes out, I do hope to see you on the battlefield. So it's been fun, but this is Crazy Carl signing out.